六宅往日空山不干净，论文人月香，环境入心灵，不教前台讲。
I think your journey to the World Championship title was very eventful. Do you believe in destiny?
I know Grishuk once said, there's no way to change the character. It's very hard to say, yeah.
The Sinkfield Cup, a 2-week invitational chess tournament where some of the game's finest players face off in intense round-robin play. Held in St. Louis, Missouri, it's not only one of the strongest chess tournaments in the world, but one of the most bizarre too.
Wow. What a result. What a result, guys.
The 2022 iteration saw Magnus Carlsen, the world's #1 player, surprisingly lose to the year's lowest rated invite, Hans Niemann.
What have we witnessed? The Sinkfield Cup, what is it about the Sinkfield Cup? I mean, guys...
Although the tournament was only a third of the way done, when Magnus resigned, he didn't return. It's not every day you see the world's #1 playing white lose to a vastly inferior opponent and act this way. The closest thing to it at the time seemed like the infamous Masbea game in the 2003 Linares International. Garry Kasparov, the then world's #1 and 8-time champion of the tournament, found himself in hot water after a bold piece sacrifice by the then 15-year-old Timur Radjabov. Kasparov wanted to punish the lowest rated player of the tournament for such an audacious move, so instead of accepting the sacrifice, he moved his queen up for an attack of his own. After a couple more moves though, it was obvious that the teen prodigy could hold his own. Kasparov hadn't lost a single game in Linares for 6 years, but things were suddenly changing before his eyes. In this position, when Radjabov's knight started to loom over Kasparov's king, the world's #1 player just got up and left. He would later officially lose on time. It would be Kasparov's only loss and Radjabov's only win of the tournament. At the award ceremony, Kasparov learns that he not only lost gold by a single half point, but that the game that cost him the lead was voted on by journalists to be the most beautiful game of the entire tournament. As soon as this award was given, the former world champion unpromptedly walked onto the stage and yelled into the microphone one of chess's most heated monologues ever, before signing off with the ominous "I won't be back." Following in Kasparov's footsteps, when Magnus shakes Hans' hand, he won't return to the tournament, and will be fined around $10,000 for attendance violation.
It must be embarrassing for the world champion to lose to me.
Everyone wondered if Magnus was feeling how Kasparov felt when he was outplayed by Radjabov almost 2 decades ago. Well, it turns out Magnus didn't walk away never to return because he felt outplayed. He walked away because he felt cheated. Little did anyone know at the time, but this game would fireball into one of the biggest cheating scandals in chess history. What followed would be controversy, vociferous cheating paranoia, and a whopping $100 million defamation lawsuit, and it all started in sweet old St. Louis, Missouri. Another example of unusualness at the Sinkfield Cup occurred in 2018 when there was a dramatic three-way tie between the first ever winners of the tournament. Usually this would be resolved in one of the free tie-breaking clauses, but as the arbitrators went down the list, they realized that all 3 of them had the same record against each other, all 3 had the same record throughout the entire tournament, and all 3 had the same number of wins with the black pieces. With such an unusual result, the 4th way to proceed in the event of a three-way tie came to light for one of the first times, and what was revealed was utter absurdity. Written in fine print was the infamous draw lots clause, where the 3 winning players randomly selected their fate. It's such a cruel stipulation that one has to wonder how it got there in the first place.
You want to pick first in such a situation because your chances of picking a winning pawn, say white pawn, there's 2 white pawns and there'll be a black pawn. So your chances of picking a good pawn are 66%. You go second, there's 1 white pawn, 1 black pawn, your chances of picking a good pawn are 50%. So the drawing of lots is actually a lot trickier.
Unsurprisingly, the players spoke up, calling this bizarre tiebreak stipulation, quote, ridiculous. And so, in one of the most dissident moments in chess history, the 3 joint winners refused simply to draw lots. And this brings us to today, Sinkfield 2019. All three of last year's first place finishers are back here today as favorites, looking for a fair sole victory. But adding to the outlandish nature of the Singfield Cup, 3/4 of the way through, a relatively unknown player outside of the chess world is in first place, Ding Liren.
When was the moment when you realized that you could become one of the best chess players in the world?
After his round 5 victory against the Dutch #1 Anish Giri, Ding's prospects propel even further when he secures a win against the world's second best player, Fabiano Caruana. With only 2 more rounds to go, it looks like Ding is shockingly going to be that year's champion. But a familiar face in and out of the chess world isn't going down without a fight. The world's #1 player, Magnus. In the penultimate round of the tournament, Magnus beats Wesley So, the 5th highest rated chess player in history. And then in the last round, he beats the 2017 Singfield winner, MVL.
What a finish we have. Really, when you talk about a photo finish, this is what it looks like in the world of chess.
Since it's only a 2-way tie, unlike last year's 3-way debacle, a tiebreak match will ensue. First, 2 rapid games are played, where players have 25 minutes on their clock each. Everyone is expecting Magnus to win here. He's currently winning the year's World Chess Tour by a massive 16-point margin. He's also the 4, soon-to-be 5-time world champion. And the cherry on top, Magnus hasn't lost the tournament tiebreak match in over a decade. But yet, both games are drawn.
No, and there it is, a handshake as we go to Blitz. Ding Liren versus Magnus Carlsen. It's going to get faster and faster here.
Since the 2 men seem evenly matched, things get sped up even more. Next is 2 Blitz games, where players start out with only 5 minutes on their clock, with 3 additional seconds per move.
How historic would it be if a Ding Liren were to make an upset of the world champion right here and now?
Yeah, you talk about biting on granite.
Yeah, well,
And
that's
Rook
a big-
D1, and suddenly
Rook D1.
threats are beginning to emerge on that D file. He can't figure out what to do right now.
He
But
will
Ding
be
Liren
playing
also
on the
going underneath a
increment.
minute.
King G6.
Whoa,
G4.
on the attack, and Magnus has to think about this.
No,
he
he's got it.
trades.
There's nothing to think about. He's got to take
But isn't
that.
H5 a mate and 2 threat?
No, you got to go.
Oh, trouble for Magnus. Magnus is in big trouble right now. 3 seconds for Magnus, 2 seconds. Now back to 5, and a check. Okay, now bishop back to D4. He should not want to draw. He is torturing Magnus right now to find the right moves. Magnus down to 1. Magnus has lost
Magnus
on time.
is flagged.
Magnus has lost on time. Ding Liren pushing him over. But it's good enough, and we see them starting. But the good enough move that you can play quickly and you can get in that nice flow, as now Ding Liren knows, I get a draw, I win the match. And he has done it.
He's
Allowing-
done it. He's daring Magnus now.
This has no choice.
And there it is.
He's nervous. He's
He
nervous.
is nervous.
He wants to find the move that E4 pawn in the variation.
Oh, he did it in a
Bishop
different
takes.
way.
And a bishop takes.
A discovered attack against the knight to F4.
Yes, knight to F4.
Queen to D7.
Ooh, lots of threats. Magnus in real trouble.
Queen takes C1.
And he's allowed this position. Guessing that he's
H2.
perfectly fine, but
Two rooks
this
for
is
a
lost.
But- Ooh,
Mate
Magnus.
threat.
Counter mate threat. Work H8.
A mate on H1.
How do you stop this
How do you
H1
stop
mate?
it? That's a spectacular shot, winning the game. The game is over.
This move not only defends Ding's king, but his bishop as well, which makes a brilliant and unstoppable checkmate of his own possible.
And that's
And
it.
that's the same thing.
That's
That's
it.
it. Oh my
What a
goodness.
game. That was even.
Ding
Oh,
Liren.
man.
Oh,
What a breakthrough for this fine young man.
He's
This
going to beat
game-
Magnus 2-0.
This game was phenomenal.
Fantastic. Simply fantastic.
What?
The best. This is chess at its
I can't even
best.
remember the first game, the first 3 games of the playoff.
Wow. That's it.
With a smile that applauds Ding's tenacity, Magnus resigns.
Spectacular. Spectacular.
If I didn't have 97, then maybe I would lost.
It was that kind of double-edged moment. Magnus has never lost a tiebreak. You are the first person to ever defeat him in a tiebreak.
Only 6 years earlier, a young Magnus Carlsen won the prestigious tournament outright, and later that year, he would beat Vishwanathan Anand to become for the first time a world champion. So it's not surprising that after Ding's win, a particular question gets passed his way.
Does it make you want to think about World Championship match for the title one day?
Ding is too humble to answer affirmatively here, so he explains that the situation would be unlikely for him, citing numerous difficulties. But that answer doesn't stop him from getting pressed the question a second time by chess titan Maurice Ashley.
Still, you must hope one day to become the world champion.
Yeah.
For one of the first times, Ding soft-spokenly reveals his dream to one day become chess world champion. The story you are about to watch, if you were to put it in front of a publishing office and present it as a new book idea, would get pushed off the desk immediately after a quick peruse. The publisher would roll their eyes and say this is too unbelievable even for fiction. There are just simply too many unmovable obstacles, too many unstoppable forces, for the protagonist to reliably and veritably overcome them all. You would instantly respond, "Allow me to show you," and from the publisher's desk would spawn abruptly great mountains and serene tranquility. China didn't always used to be able to call itself a chess powerhouse. In fact, its relatively recent dominance wasn't supposed to happen at all. Modern chess as we know it formed in Europe around the 15th century, but its ancestor appeared almost a millennium earlier. In India, a game called chaturanga was being played where distinct attacking pieces all engaged in battle with one another to capture the other's king. It was as simple as it was complex, poetic as it was addicting. When the Silk Road started to take form, merchants and wanderers couldn't let go of the board and its pieces, so the game traveled abroad. Soon, many versions of chaturanga started to pop up around Eurasia. Each version picked up subtle differences that reflected societal tendencies. So when the European version chess arrived in China during the late 19th century, it was obviously going to be viewed as a strange game. Why had the elephants transformed into bishops, and the advisors into an all-powerful queen? In China, their version of chaturanga didn't have these changes. Instead, they added the novel cannon piece, the warlike contraption the country invented in the 13th century, and the central river, which hindered certain pieces from crossing into enemy territory. Also, why were the Europeans placing pieces inside the squares and not on the intersections that form them? This placement breaks the tradition of the oldest popular board game still played today, Weiqi, or as it's known in English, Go. And so, chess was seen as too strange to seriously pick up and play. But still, some people were willing to give the game a shot, like Jie Xiaoshun, taking advantage of the similarities of Zhangqi and chess. He was a quick learner, and when the fourth world champion Alexander Alekhine visited the country in 1993, Jie Xiaoshun drew the Russian chess powerhouse in Shanghai. With this legendary draw, chess slowly started to gain traction in the country. 3 decades later, in 1962, the Chess Association of China was born. But unlike most other countries' chess associations, this one wasn't its own separate entity, but rather a subdivision of the Zhangqi Association. 4 years later, chess would be banned outright, as the Chinese Cultural Revolution was on its way. Started by Mao Zedong in 1966, its aim was to preserve traditional Chinese society and eliminate any capitalist or foreign elements. Chess was one of these elements targeted. For almost a decade, chess books were burned, boards were broken, and players were prosecuted. This is ending number 1. Ding was never supposed to play chess, as chess in China was on the verge of extinction. But here's the paradoxical thing about banning something. It tends to have the opposite wanted effect. Why was this 8x8 checkered board with pieces so similar to Zhangqi banned? A lot of people were eager to find out. In the same year Mao Zedong died and the Cultural Revolution abruptly ended, China, for the very first time, competed in its first international chess event, showcasing that after its ban, chess not only survived, but it flourished. 3 years later, China competed in its very first chess Olympiad. Along with 65 other nations, the budding Chinese team headed down to Buenos Aires, Argentina to compete with the best. Without a single grandmaster on the 6-man team, nobody seriously expected the country to put up a fight. But then the Chinese team beat Iceland in the opening round. It was enough for Dutch grandmaster Jan Donner to make a questionable statement. If you're unaware, Jan is not immortalized for his brilliant chess, but rather his crass choice of words that always end up being wrong. In round 8, China and the Netherlands are set to play one another. Jan, the 3-time Dutch champion, sits down to play Louis Wenjie, a mere 2200 rated player. After 15 opening moves each, this position is reached. Louis is playing white, and it's his move. He ponders for some time, and then slingshots the proverbial stone fearlessly towards the chess Goliath's forehead. The unforgettable move, Queen G6 check. Jan, surprised, simply takes the helpless queen. The Grandmaster no doubt didn't expect much, but he wasn't prepared for play this bad. But then Louis plays his next move, and then the next, making Jan's king feel unexpectedly claustrophobic. The Dutch Grandmaster is starting to sweat as the crowd grows around their board. Jan makes 2 more moves in retaliation, but it doesn't stop the inevitable from coming. That free queen on move 16 was a rose that came with deadly thorns. On the right move of 20, Jan horrifically accepts his futile fate and resigns, as if he keeps playing, Louis will simply checkmate him on move 22. This loss stripped the Netherlands of their supposed easy win, and Jan Donner was sent home medalless with his own question rattling inside his aching forehead. 8 years later, in 1986, the Chinese Chess Association broke away from the Jiangqi Association to officially become its own entity. Members, officials, and players all met in Beijing to come up with a plan to transform China into one of the leading chess nations. The result was the famously ambitious, borderline pugnacious 4-step strategy. It was a lofty yet simple idea. If the top talent could be good enough to compete and win on the world stage, it would inspire others in China to give the sport a chance. The first step was to win the Women's World Chess Championship.
You play for your life.
Meet Che-Jun, a fiery competitor who was determined to be the best of the best and become world champion one day. It wasn't going to be easy, because the Soviet Union had all but dominated the women's title for the past 4 decades. But 5 years after the 4-step strategy's creation, the 21-year-old brought the Soviets' legacy crumbling down, beating the 5-time world champion Maya Chiberdanidze 4-2.
And I was so lucky I was there, these kind of things.
As you can imagine, overnight, much like Bobby Fischer, Che-Jun became a household name, and chess in China skyrocketed. So when Ding Wenjun and Ye Xiaoping have their only child Ding Liren, they decide that this new game would be a worthwhile activity for him to learn. Little did they know this decision would change their lives forever. At the age of 4, Ding Liren would become part of his hometown's chess scene by joining the Chess Cities Association.
And what's your first memory about chess?
Soon, every weekend and Wednesday night, Ding would be dropped off at the training hub and spend long hours on the top floor devoted to learning the ins and outs of the game. He recalls watching the day turn to night through the open windows, and hearing the sounds of his father's motorbike coming to pick him up after a long day. These were happy, formative times for the young Ding, and soon he would blossom into quite the promising teenage talent. By this point, Ding has already competed well in many international tournaments, but perhaps his most formative happened right along the coast he grew up on. In the bustling county of Jinghua, 12 of the country's finest chess players get ready to start an intense and exhaustive 11-day chess circuit to determine who is China's national champion. Being the second lowest rated player out of the dozen, a slender 16-year-old Ding barely made the cut. In fact, many of the more experienced young adults wondered what he was doing here. Not only was his age discrepancy awkward, but his title discrepancy was too. Ding was one of the only people in the field not to have the official title of Grandmaster. Up to this point, the country has had only 29 Grandmasters in its history, and over a third of them were now looking at this teenage boy who had somehow sneaked his way into the national championship. To skew the odds even further out of Ding's favor, out of these 10 Grandmasters, 3 were in a league all of their own. In 1914, Tsar Nicholas II paid the best chess players in the world handsomely to travel over to St. Petersburg to play in one of the most high-caliber chess tournaments the world had ever seen. Not only was the world champion Emanuel Lasker present, but 2 future world champions as well, Jose Capablanca and Alexander Alekhine. The dominant trio respectively placed in the top 3, and along with Siegbert Tarrasch and Frank Marshall, who rounded out the top 5, Nicholas II held a banquet in their honor, and declared these 5 men to be Grandmasters of chess. This moniker would withstand the test of time, and the 5 would be immortalized as the first ever to occupy the title of chess's best. As time went on, FIDE, the International Chess Federation, officially adopted the title in 1950, but they weren't exactly sure how to give the title out, because who exactly was a Grandmaster? At first, a committee was selected to award the title, but it became clear early on that without a formal guideline in place, political views would quickly get in the way. So FIDE revised this method and came up with actual criteria 3 years later. But it was conspicuously rushed and flawed, so 4 years later FIDE decided to drop this criteria for new criteria. 8 years later, this new criteria was called into question by many Grandmasters who thought it was now too easy to gain the title. So new criteria replaced the replaced criteria. If you think that sounds silly, then you're not alone. Physics professor Arpid Ilo agreed. Ilo thought that the criteria would only tackle half of the problem. Every master at some point can have a lucky tournament, so players should also be able to mathematically prove themselves as one of chess' best too. In 1970, the Elo system was born. It's characterized by 2 achievements. 1, it's able to theoretically estimate how well any given player can perform, and 2, it's able to rank those players systematically based on those estimates. Still used today in chess, it became so popular for its simplicity and effectiveness that many other sports, including esports, use it today. Let's say you're a chess player looking to get into the competitive side of the sport. Once you figure out your high school chess club, as entertaining as it is, isn't going to cut it competitively, you decide to sign up for your FIDE ID and participate in rated tournaments. After playing in enough of these, as long as they meet certain thresholds, you'll soon be awarded your very own elo. For new rated players, this is somewhere around 1200 to 1400. These points are yours and yours alone. Nobody can take them away from you. You can keep them forever and go home to the grave as John Doe 1257 if you truly wish. But being the competitive player you are, you want to raise your elo. Well, the only way to do that is by putting your own elo on the line by facing other rated players. After every rated game, the winning player will take points from the losing one, and the difference between the ratings of the winner and loser determines the amount of points gained or lost. For example, if you beat a higher rated opponent, you'll gain a considerable amount of points, and if you beat a lower rated opponent, you'll gain only a few. The same theory applies in reverse if you lose, but you don't have to worry about that, because hey, you're pretty good at this game. Soon, you're beating average state club players, then you're beating strong club players, and oh hey, you made it to 2000 elo, the expert class. It's slow going through here, but after a year or two you start to pass certain thresholds that give you prestigious chess titles which will stick to your name like glue. At 2200, you become a candidate master, at 2300 you become a FIDE master, and at 2400, along with other requirements, you become an international master. And oh hey look, you're about to pass 16-year-old Ding. Hey Ding. Now we're getting somewhere. Once you pass 2500, along with other requirements called norms, where you perform exceptionally well at tournaments with multiple grandmasters in attendance, FIDE will officially recognize you as a grandmaster. Ah, it's been a long ride. Time to enjoy the view after that arduous but worthwhile journey. Oh, wait, what's going on? It looks like you're not the only one to get here. In fact, multiple thousands of people have been awarded the title of grandmaster this way. So, what went wrong? Did elo fail? Well, not quite. In fact, chess still uses this system today. It just turns out that 2500 may have been a bit of an underestimate on the skill ceiling of chess. This was hinted at in the first couple installations of the FIDE Top 100 rating list, when American Bobby Fischer swiftly climbed higher than anyone thought initially possible. For years, he would be the only player in the mythical 2700 elo range. It was the precursor for a new type of player, one that could consistently beat grandmasters with ease, and show that they were in a category all to themselves. This player is the 2700, the Super Grandmaster. Out of the thousands of grandmasters of chess, so far less than 150 of them have ever dipped their toes into the top echelon of 2700. These are the best of the best, and in the 2009 Chinese Championship, there were mind-boggling 3 Super Grandmasters. The fact that a non-grandmaster was facing off against 3 super grandmasters felt like the biggest competitive discrepancy imaginable. Statistically, Ding was going to get crushed, but as the saying goes, the young are often underestimated. His first opponent is the super grandmaster Bu Xiangqi, and all he can manage to get against Ding is a draw. 2 more draws and 2 wins later, Ding will play his second super grandmaster, Ni Hua, the 3-time national champion, currently looking to four-peat the title. Ni Hua was one of the world's best, and he was no doubt eyeing Ding as a straightforward win. But he wasn't the only confident player hunched over the board. In his early games, Ding is known for his tactical fighting style, setting up calculated defense that will later reveal itself as overwhelming offense. For example, early into the game, a well-trodden path has come into fruition. According to chess databases, over 1,000 top-level games have resulted in this position. The vast majority of these games conclude with white moving their queen to d2, protecting the hanging pawn and setting up an attack with pawn to f4. Instead of playing this natural move, however, Ding played rook to b3, practically a novelty in this position. At first, this move looks like a questionable defense tactic, as the rook's role has all but been reduced to defending a single pawn. But in reality, it cunningly sets up future offensive tactics. Whenever Ding pushes his defended pawn up, his rook has the capability to swing over to the king side to perform a deadly attack. A couple moves later, Ding, at the expense of opening his own king up, mounted a fearless charge against his opponent's king by playing h4. Ni Hua realizes the danger of this advancing pawn, so he has no choice but to block it with h5. But it's too late. Ding manages to continue the attack with his beautifully set up rook on the 3rd rank. This is one of the most daring ways to play chess, and he was doing it against the super grandmaster. Ni Hua tried to disrupt the attack as much as possible, but Ding was unfazed. The teen even sacrificed his rook to place his bishop on a monstrous square, f6, which effectively restricts Ni Hua's king from ever moving again. Nihua feels the walls closing in and gives his king an extra square to breathe. Ding marches his G and H pawns forward to retaliate. Nihua realizes he needs his bishop back to defend. And then, in this position, Ding played what is effectively the final nail in the coffin, the brilliant h7 check, sacrificing a passed pawn. Nihua can't take with the king because of an obvious checkmate, so he takes with the bishop instead. But what Nihua didn't realize immediately is that taking with the bishop still leads to checkmate, thanks to Ding's next move, rook to h4. In this position, Nihua saw the writing on the wall and had no choice but to resign. The 16-year-old had just taken out the country's free-time national champion, not due to any blunders or lucky opportunities, but by his own authentic and innovative playstyle. When Ding meets his third Super Grandmaster, Wang Hao, he's unafraid to sacrifice his rook again for a more tactical position. 24 moves later, Wang Hao is also forced to resign. With 6 wins, 6 draws, and 0 losses, Ding became China's youngest ever national champion, and a Grandmaster too. Across the globe, fellow Grandmaster Davorin Kolyasevich heard news of this young prodigy's accomplishments and decided to do some digging, and what he found astounded him. With supercomputer analysis, the Grandmaster verified that Ding's performance in the national championship was a monstrous 2800 elo. This teenager was finding ideas and tactics that even the most experienced Super Grandmasters were prone to miss, and yet almost no one knew his name. Who was this diamond in the rough, playing at a game-breaking level of chess? In 2010, the new Grandmaster completed his final year of high school, and quickly surpassed the 2600 rating. In 2011, Ding decided to take a year off to pursue chess and see what being a full-time player would look like. Ding wins the Chinese national tournament once again undefeated, and breaks into the 2650 elo rating, enough to make him for the first time a top 100 player. In 2012, he finishes his off year by becoming the free-time Chinese national champion, yet decided that something was missing from his life. And so he enrolled in Peking University, one of the most prestigious in China, to get his law degree. For the next 5 years, keep in mind that Ding is completing one of the hardest degrees in one of the hardest Chinese higher educational institutions, while simultaneously pursuing chess. Into his first year of law school, Ding, as GM Kolyasevich predicted 3 years earlier, breaks into the 2700 club to become a Super Grandmaster. With this new status, China's prospects of completing the third step of their 4-step strategy seem their best yet. Formed in 1924, the Chess Olympiad is a biannual tournament organized by FIDE, where 5-man teams from hundreds of countries face off against one another to solidify their country as one of the best in the world. It's very similar to an actual Olympic event, where at the end are bronze, silver, and gold medals for countries to receive. In 2006, China got their closest yet, receiving a tantalizingly historic silver medal after being edged out by Armenia. Since then, the team has not won a single medal, but perhaps Ding was the last piece of the puzzle they needed to come back and score gold. In 2014, Ding became the highest rated Chinese chess player at 2742 elo. He joins Team China on board 2. Alongside him are other strong national champions, such as the team captain Wang Yue, the oldest and most experienced member, who in 2010 was the first Chinese player to break into the FIDE top 10. Then there's the familiar Nihua, the three-time national champion before Ding. Rounding out the players is China's newest national champion, Yu Yangyi, and their reserve 5th player, the child prodigy Wei Yi, currently the youngest grandmaster in the entire world at 14 years of age. If there was ever a year to win gold, it was now. With their iconic stripy uniforms, China opened strong by beating Guatemala, Albania, and the chess powerhouse Hungary. It's enough to hover around the gold mark. They hold their own against the dominant Russia and the Netherlands by bringing both matches to a draw. But it's enough for Azerbaijan to slightly take the lead. China scores wins against Egypt and Serbia, and in round 8 they strike versus Azerbaijan.
China had a clear game plan. Wang Yue took no chances on board 1, played an exchange Slav with white. Mamedyarov equalised easily, but a draw was the predictable result. Ding proved to be very well prepared against Radyabov's advanced Caro. The Azeri got no advantage from the opening. 2 games left and the situation was balanced. Yu Yangyi looked better against Safali. Nihua was worst against Gusenov. Nihua defended well. Gusenov miscalculated, and the Chinese player even succeeded in winning. The Chinese couldn't believe their luck.
By beating Azerbaijan, Team China breaks into the sole lead by a single point. But it's not over yet. 5 countries trail close behind in joint second. On the women's side, China's team loses a late key match to Russia, and the team gets second as a result.
But that's okay, because yesterday is already passed, so you cannot do anything, so just see forward. For our men's team, they are doing quite well.
China and France led. Ding Liren against Etienne Bacrot was a wild game. Bacrot played a Benoni, sacrificed in exchange. Ding broke through the middle with a centre pawn. All eyes were on this board. Bacrot had to give up more material. China won the match.
After a draw with chess powerhouse Ukraine and a win against France, the team is its closest ever to winning open gold. All they need to do now is win or even draw their last match versus Poland to mathematically secure this monumental feat. History was in their grasp. They just had to bring it home. Board 4 was the first game to conclude. Nihua held a slight advantage against GM Bartel, but the position soon turned into an equal endgame and a draw ensued. Board 1 was the second to conclude. Wang Yue fell behind in the opening, but did his best to keep the position solid against Grandmaster Wojciech. It was enough for a draw. Now only 2 more boards remain. On board 2, Ding Liren is facing Grandmaster Gajewski, and under a serious amount of pressure, Ding decides to sacrifice his rook for a bishop. Later on, he will be able to equalize the material, and the position goes into an endgame that seems to be almost symmetrical. A draw here would lay China's fate to Yu Yangyi, so Ding looks to win, and after a while Ding finds the quietly surgical move queen to c7. Black suddenly has no way to stop the pawn advance. Gajewski tries to counterplay this passed pawn, but all efforts are futile. Ding's hand starts to shake as he plays his final moves. He knows what he is about to accomplish. Over 8 years ago, Team China got painstakingly close to gold. Nihua and Wang Yue, players who were part of the 2006 team who just missed out on gold, couldn't hold it in. When Ding wins, not only is the match secured, but the entire tournament too. It was a long and arduous journey, but China, for the first time ever, are Open Olympiad champions. The next 3 years for Ding are filled with esteemed chess tournaments, impressive placings, and a breakthrough into the top 10 player mark, all while completing his law degree. In 2017, Ding graduates from Peking University, and it's like the training weights came off. Now Ding was ready to show the chess world what he was truly capable of. The previous record for the longest undefeated streak in classical chess at the top level of play was 95 games set by world champion Mikhail Tal between the years 1973 and 1974. Tal's record sat peacefully dormant for multiple decades. Halley's Comet even came and went. But now, over 40 years later, Ding was slowly inching closer and closer. Playing in some of the hardest tournaments in the world, like the FIDE World Cup and the Candidates Tournament, soon he was up to 50 games undefeated, then 60, 70.
More than 80 games without a loss. Do you ever think about that during your game?
Yeah, sometimes, but during game I won't think about this.
At 95 games, Ding even holds off Anish Giri, the last person who beat him over a year ago, to tie Tal's undefeated streak. And he doesn't stop there. 5 games later, Ding does something for the first time in the game's top level history, and successfully plays 100 games undefeated in a row. The average score of all of Ding's opponents during the streak was 2,697 ELO, just 3 points shy of Super Grandmaster status. The tenacity of such a feat is astounding. On game 101, Ding poetically loses to MVL. It's his first time losing in over 15 months, and will be his first and only classical loss of 2018. After this 100-game streak, and to pass into one of the final frontiers of classical chess, ELO 2800, there was no denying that Ding Liren was one of the best chess players the world had ever seen.
Still, you must hope one day to become the world champion.
Yeah.
A couple of months later, the Grand Chess Tour concludes in London, where the 4 best players of that year's circuit compete one more time to determine the Grand Champion that year. And do I even have to tell you who wins at this point? Ding has always been a fierce competitor, but after beating the current world champion Magnus Carlsen to take home the Sinquefield Cup, of course he subsequently won the entire Grand Chess Tour outright. A chess player's prospects have never looked so high. Ding was on top of the world. All eyes were on him. And then, all at once, in one swift and numbing knockout blow, Ding disappears completely.
mysterious pneumonia outbreak in Wuhan, China.
A new type of coronavirus.
The number of affected countries has tripled.
The World Health Organization has just declared that this is a pandemic.
Players didn't know it at the time, but the 2019 Sinquefield Cup and London Chess Classic would be the last two unaffected tournaments before COVID-19 changed the world. While almost everyone was subject to some form of lockdown during the pandemic, the severity and duration of said lockdown differed from country to country. China, where the outbreak occurred, had one of the most long-lasting and strict lockdown regulations in the world. As a result, when in-person tournaments start to pop back up years later in 2021, Ding will miss an inordinate amount of them, as China wouldn't lax its lockdown regulations until well into 2022. This fact has heavy World Championship implications. The path to the World Championship title in chess is a little unusual compared to other popular sports. First, it begins with the biannual 8-player candidates tournament, essentially chess's version of playoffs. The candidates takes the best of the best and pits them together in double round-robin play to determine one sole winner. In any other sport, this winner would be crowned the new world champion. But that doesn't happen in chess. Instead, the candidate simply gives the first place finisher the right to challenge the current world champion. Since Magnus Carlsen won the candidates tournament and subsequently the world championship match in 2013, the greatest of all time has reigned champion for an entire decade, beating challenger after challenger. So once in-person tournaments are back into the equation, all top players are eyeing a spot for the 2022 candidates to potentially be the next one to challenge Magnus for his crown. One spot will always be reserved for the runner-up of last year's World Championship match. In that case, it's Jan Nepomniachtchi, who won the previous candidates tournament, but failed to take down the Goliath Magnus. The next spot is a wild card, which FIDE, the organizer of the World Championship match, gets to choose. They award it to Timur Radjabov, the player who beat Garry Kasparov when he was only 15. Timur withdrew from the previous candidates due to the pandemic. After asking FIDE to postpone the tournament and getting rejected, he just dropped out. It turned out to be the safe move, as the tournament was a colossal mess. Halfway through, FIDE had no choice but to postpone the tournament, as Russia, the host country that year, banned all international flights. Players had to hurry back to their home countries immediately. Some didn't even make it out on time and had to travel to neighboring countries that did allow commercial travel. Once Timur learned of this mess, he threatened to consult a lawyer, as his prediction that the tournament would not be able to run safely was vindicated. Under a significant amount of pressure, FIDE controversially offered him the wildcard spot. The next two finishers would be the winner and runner-up of the 2021 Chess World Cup, one of the hardest knockout bracket style tournaments in the world. Ding has made it to the past two candidates tournaments this way, being runner-up in the 2017 and 19 Chess World Cup. But today, due to the coronavirus precautions being especially strict in Ding's home country of China, he could not obtain a visa in time to exit the country and participate. Instead, it would be Jan-Krzysztof Duda, the #1 player from Poland, and Sergei Karyakin, the winner of the 2015 candidates tournament, who got first and second respectively. 3 months later, the next two spots are awarded to the winner and runner-up of the FIDE Grand Swiss. And this is the second controversial decision by FIDE this year, as to offer up 2 spots to this tournament instead of 1, like in previous years, meant getting rid of one of the most widely used candidate qualifiers ever, the rating spot. Although it takes on many different forms throughout the years, the sentiment is the same. The person with the highest rating, as long as they remain active, is worthy of a candidate spot. But now, for the first time since the title split, none of the 8 spots will be given to the player with the highest rating. Instead, the runner-up of the Grand Swiss will make it. Once again, due to travel restrictions, Ding will not be able to compete in the Grand Swiss. Instead, it will be France's Alireza Firouzja, the youngest person to break 2800 ELO, and the US's Fabiano Caruana, the winner of the 2018 candidates. At this point, there are only 2 spots left for this year's championship cycle, and they're both handed out at the same event, the FIDE Grand Prix. Because of his high rating, Ding was even the #1 seed. But once again, Ding couldn't obtain his visa for the first leg of the Prix, and then again during the second. At this point, mathematically, Ding was out of the running, and so Hikaru Nakamura, the 5-time US champion, and Richard Rapport, the #1 player in Hungary, would claim the last candidate spots. The selection was final. Ding, who in the May 2022 rating list was the highest rated player right behind the world champion Magnus Carlsen, would not even get to compete for a chance to face him, due to factors outside of his control. It almost seemed a crime that Ding wouldn't get to participate, but the odds weren't in Ding's favor. The rating clause was gone, and the wild card was hurriedly given away. The story was supposed to end there, but in a shocking turn of events, it turns out the story was just getting started. Sergei Karyakin is a former Ukrainian, now Russian player who adamantly supports the war on Ukraine. Following the February 2022 invasion of Ukraine, which caused the death of over 10,000 civilians, Sergei expressed how Russia had a quote sacred duty to occupy the land. On March 21, 2022, FIDE ruled that his views spoken on social media violated their code of ethics, citing that they can be connected to the game of chess and damage the reputation of the game. A 6-month ban in any FIDE-ran tournaments ensued, and that encompassed the 2022 candidates. And that means, miraculously, there's one spot up for grabs. And diving deep into the rules and regulations, it's revealed that the new 8th player will be the highest rated not already in the candidates. And just like that, the rating clause is miraculously revived. But like the rating clauses in the past, it comes with a stipulation. And this one all but breaks Ding's chances. The player who qualifies for the open candidate spot is not only the player who has the highest rating, but who also has played 30 rated games from the start of June 2021 to the end of April 2022. Due to travel restrictions, Ding has only managed to play 4 rated games in this time span, and the deadline for reaching these 30 games was just a month away. Chess.com gave Ding a virtually zero chance of qualifying, as he would need to officially schedule and play 26 rated games in a month. And just like that, Levon Aronian, a full 16 ELO points below Ding, was projected to win the spot. But a handful of days after Karyakin's ban, a rated game from Ding Liren pops up on the chess databases, and then the next day another, and the next one after that too. It appears Ding isn't going down without a fight. Between March 27th and April 24th, 2022, Ding unnervingly achieved 28 rated games. And just like that, Ding was in the candidates tournament. But the first Chinese player ever to qualify for the candidates still had a long way to go. At the candidates, first is the only place that matters. Out of these 8 players, only one of them will earn the right to challenge Magnus for his crown. The rules are simple, everyone plays each other twice. 1 point for a win, half for a draw, 0 for a loss. Whoever has the highest score at the end wins. Things go off to a rocky start when Ding loses his first round to Jan Nepomniachtchi, the winner of the previous candidates.
For you, how was your mindset after this loss?
After defeat, I was very upset and also missed several chances in the next couple of rounds.
After this loss, what will ensue next is 7 draws in a row for Ding. While a draw still gains Ding points, it's not what he wants. When Ding made it to the candidates tournament for the first time in 2017, he actually was the only player there to go undefeated, drawing 13 times and winning once. It only placed him 4th, however, highlighting how in the candidates you need to go for wins. In round 9, Ding Liren picks up his first win, defeating Judo with the white pieces.
If you look across the games and looked at his advantages, I don't remember him being in trouble since then, but I do remember him on the edge of a win, and now he finally gets his first one.
Round 10, Ding picks up his second win against Report with the black pieces.
Because he had to give every ounce of energy, but this time Ding Liren does in fact win. The score sheets are signed.
Round 11, Ding picks up his 3rd win against Fabiano Caruana, the 2018 candidates winner.
I was expecting him to make a push. People were saying he would be in last place, and that I think actually motivated him, and look at him go now.
It's a long shot, but Ding's not out just yet. There's a sliver of hope that he can catch up with Jan Nepomniachtchi, the last candidates winner, who's currently in first with a 1.5 point lead. With only a handful of rounds to go, Ding is counted out by Hikaru Nakamura.
I mean, let's be honest, Ding is not going to win the last 3 games, I don't think, so it's just, yeah, it's what it is.
Ding was determined to prove the time was saying right, it's not over until it's over.
Entering round 12, Ding Liren had won his 3 previous games and had advanced to clear second place. The Ding hype train was real. and it wasn't too hard for believers to see him continuing his winning ways, though Hikaru Nakamura had some early doubts about his game against Timur Radjabov.
I actually, the more I looked, especially the more I think I'd rather be black than white here, because he bishop b7, rook c8, and rook e8, and I mean, black has very obvious ideas, and white, I mean, for white, you need like so many moves.
Hikaru's analysis proved correct. After being surprised by the unusual but effective knight to a6, Ding tried to press for an advantage, avoiding drawish lines and castling, and accepting significant risk to do so. Radjabov found multiple subtle but effective moves to increase the pressure. After Ding played the weakening pawn move, f3, Radjabov targeted the extremely soft e3 pawn and broke through just a few moves later with the brilliant rook takes e3.
And what else is a very powerful force is rook takes e3, which is on the board. No hesitation.
Ding declined the rook sacrifice and tried to fight on a pawn down, but his king was too weak and his pieces too scattered. He was forced to resign just 5 moves later. This dramatic result positioned Ding and Hikaru in shared second place.
After a draw in round 13, it's confirmed Ding can't get first anymore at the candidates. Jan has, just like at the last candidate, secured first with a round to spare. Ding's final match is against Hikaru Nakamura. While first is already secured, second depends entirely on this match. Hikaru has a half-point lead over Ding, so he just needs to draw the match to secure second.
I mean, let's be honest, Ding is not going to win the last 3 games, I don't think.
Ding needed a win to pass Hikaru, who would otherwise be uncatchable, holding on to the second place spot. Out of the opening, Hikaru looked to have no issues when he predicted a draw in 30 minutes. With rooks still on the board, Ding found the creative rook d to c1, keeping play alive and starting to needle Hikaru's queenside. Hikaru defended accurately, holding the balance, but the decisions became steadily more difficult, and finally, needing to find another exchange of rooks with 35 rook to d8, Hikaru slipped, and Ding's pieces began to take over the board.
Putting the rook to d8, offering a rook exchange, Hikaru plays bishop d8, and the computer is not happy.
Ding found the precise finish with 43 bishop to e7. Hikaru fought on for another 15 moves, but with his pawns falling and Ding's pieces running wild, he was forced to resign.
When you take into perspective the fact that Ding was playing 8 of the current best chess players in the world, securing second place among them is a monumental achievement, and a performance to be proud of. But unfortunately, second in the candidates excruciatingly means you got the closest you possibly could to playing in the World Championship match without actually playing in it. One of the greatest chess players in the mid-20th century was Paul Caresse, but you've probably never heard that name before. Nicknamed the Eternal Second, one of the best chess players ever never played in a World Championship match. Caresse would be involved in 4 candidates tournaments, and in every single one of them he placed second. On the flip side, it's dangerously possible that Magnus could have been the next Caresse. Going into the last round in his first candidates tournament in 2013, he was tied with Vladimir Kramnik, the 14th world champion. Due to a controversial tie-breaking mechanic, since Magnus had won and subsequently lost more games than Kramnik, Magnus would win in the event of a tie. Magnus had white going into the final round, while Kramnik had black. This should be a relatively easy finish for Magnus. But then, slowly but surely, his opponent outplayed him in the middle game, and then saw his opportunity to transform the endgame into a win. Unbelievably, Svidler had beaten the favorite Magnus in the last round of the tournament. Kramnik goes over to Magnus's board and sees the result. As long as the former world champion draws, he will become the challenger and Magnus will get second. Unlike Ding, this openly devastates him. But his mood lifts when he notices Kramnik is faltering as well. Due to a lucky break, Kramnik actually loses his last game too, and Magnus wins on tiebreak.
I think this cannot possibly go wrong for Remote. Yeah. It says 1-0 here.
And Magnus wins on tiebreak alone. This is the start of Magnus's dominance over the World Championship over the next decade, and it all started in part because Magnus got, quote, lucky, and changed from second to first in the candidates right when the final game of the tournament, which was completely out of his control, concluded. While unlikely, it's not out of the question to speculate that if Magnus got second all those years ago, He may have never won a world championship, and instead let that first second get into his head as he started down the same obscure road as Paul Caress, who is dubbed the greatest chess player who never competed in a world championship match. But this is pure speculation. Let's go back to the facts. Ding got second that day in Madrid, Spain. Close, but not close enough. And it is he, not Magnus, who is staring Paul Caress in the face. In fact, Caress's friend, Wojciechowski, said that he failed to become the world champion because he lacked a, quote, killer instinct. Yes, he loves chess, but being a human being is his first consideration. This is reminiscent of Ding himself. Even with second in the candidates, Ding keeps his head up high.
Are you happy with your overall performance?
Yes, it's quite a good result.
Ding will unfortunately get COVID right after the candidates, and so is stuck quarantining in Spain. Ding has ample time to think about his future chess career, and what he decides is that maybe it's time to give it all up. Ding reflects fondly on his career, all the ups and downs, and believes this is a high note to end on. Ding decides when he gets back to China he won't sign up for a single tournament the rest of the year, just to see what it's like. He's excited to try something new. A new beginning, a happy ending to this story.
Was there any moment during your chess career when you thought about giving up chess?
Yeah, there are some times, but but things went differently, the other direction.
And I've spoken to people in my team, I've spoken to FIDE. The conclusion is, yeah, it's very simple that I am not motivated to play, and I will simply not play the match.
Magnus, the 5-time world champion, had decided that he had had enough of the world championship and was stepping down and revoking his title.
The second place finisher may become a world championship challenger, taking on the winner of the candidates.
Well, it turns out second in the candidates is completely and utterly useless, except for one tiny inconceivable stipulation. The world champion decides to quit. Ding wasn't simply going back to his home country second in the candidates anymore. He was going back as one of the challengers for the monumental, life-changing title of world champion.
My question is for Ding Liren. In order to get to this moment, you had to play some games in China to achieve the minimum number. You also had to work out travel difficulties to get to Spain. You had to have Magnus decline. So a lot of things happened to get you here. I'm wondering, do you believe in fate or destiny or anything like that?
Ding's popularity has risen exponentially since Magnus gave up his spot, and all the attention has been visibly nerve-wracking for a more reserved Ding.
Rook b3 in the air, and that's it.
Game.
A huge result for Pragnananda as Ding Liren resigns.
You know, I'm amazed that Ding didn't just play knight c3 and carry on with his wonderful initiative. So it was a curious game, I have to say.
He won't need it. Ding Liren has resigned. Oh. Big win for Richard Report there.
Ding realized he needed help desperately. Although he was above 2800 elo, his play in the tournament was analyzed to be only in the 2600 elo range, nowhere near what it would take to defeat Jan. Since the start of his candidate's win half a year earlier, Jan had a whole team of super grandmasters helping him. Ding has been preparing largely on his own. With the World Championship match less than 4 months away now, Ding realized a support system needed to be made, and it needed to be made now. Ding's mind swirls and blurs. He hastily looks around the field to see if there's anyone who can help him prepare, but all of the players seem so intimidating in their own manner. Eventually, he approached the only opponent who beat him at the tournament, who also knew what it was like to be in last year's candidates, the equally soft-spoken Super GM Richard Report. Report, 13th in the world, is more than willing to help, and a team is formed from that day on.
We already have some confirmed seconds for this match, and that would be Richard Report, that is an official matchup.
The fact that Ding approached Report may seem a bit surprising, because their chess play styles are so at odds with one another. While Ding plays more on the calculated and tactical style, a style that makes a 100-game undefeated streak possible, Report plays anything but.
I have to say, Robert, in modern chess, I would say that Richard is perhaps the most creative player that I know of. His chess is always so exciting.
His hyper-creative, risk-driven, and at some points pure chaotic style make him one of the most thrilling people to watch in modern chess.
You don't see the move f4 played at the highest level that often. It's a romantic style of chess.
In a game where cold calculation is often thought to be the best measure of play, Rapport challenges that sentiment by playing on the brink of measured self-destruction.
King g6, check. Now that he's got the queen where he wants it. Because now the rook is protected, you see here. Also the pawn cannot queen, so he pushes his pawn. Excellent chess. Excellent chess. Queen f7 blunder. Now rook f6 check. Rook check here. First queen h4 rook check would win. But no, he goes first check.
And by the way, he played knight d2. No draw, guys. But now he's worse, actually. By now,
Not
he's
bishop
worse.
g5, which we were considering. Let's go back
Pride
to
is
our
going to
position.
kill Richie, guys. That's the thing.
That is crazy. I have never done that, purposefully taking a worse position to keep a game.
I don't think
Frequently utilizing uncommon openings, rare lines, and unequal piece exchanges, Rapport has earned the reputation of being one of the hardest opponents to prepare against.
And does that say report random BS?
I'm very curious to know what's in that file.
Perhaps this is just who Ding needs. Jan and his team have no doubt spent the last half year analyzing all of Ding's games and habits down to the minute detail. With the creative mad genius Rapport by his side, just maybe Ding thought he had a chance to pull this off.
I want to play something new, but I don't have this kind of creativity. So that's why I saw Rapport is a very good player, to work with. He has kind of the artist characters, not like me.
The next couple of months are spent exclusively in preparing for the World Championship match with Rapport by his side. But although he has help now, the excruciating pressure never fully left his side. The question on everyone's mind was, could Ding quell his nerves and play serious chess today? Because if he couldn't, there was no way he stood a chance against the mighty Jan. The match format is a best of 14 with rapid tiebreaks added if necessary. At stake are $2 million and chess immortality. Ding spends a considerable time away from the board tucked away in the player's private room, almost as if he's unable to face the board. When a move comes to his head, he will walk out, play it, and come right back in. He even sinks deep into his hoodie for a moment, a scene that will go viral in the chess world, with the caption Ding chilling. But it was clear Ding was anything but calm, hiding from the board and the cameras and the world. The first game will end in a tie, and the players shuffle over to the post-game press conference.
What is your overall feeling after the game?
I'm not happy, not unhappy. I feel a little bit depressed by the pressure of the tournament.
The pressure Ding felt was enormous. At the candidates, he was one of 8 and could hide behind that fact. But at the World Championship match, all eyes were on him and Jan. While Ding was tense, Jan, a man who had been here 2 years ago, was poised. When Ding won the 2009 Chinese Chess Championship, the same year an exhibition match was played between Russia and China. What resulted was Ding and Jan facing off for the first time. Jan beat Ding 4-0. So even when, in Game 2, Ding opens with a 4-move combination never seen before according to databases comprised of over 10 million games, instead of being caught off guard like the rest of the world, Jan simply smiles and plays calmly while Ding retreats into the private room. With the added context given from last game's press conference, the chief arbiter, Nebulsa Baralik, went to see if anything was wrong. While Ding responded that he was okay, on the board he was anything but. The advantage was slowly going Jan's way Game 2, and then he hammered out the final nail in the coffin, e5, the best move in the position, trapping Ding's rook.
No, he has no idea what to do.
Ding knows it's done and resigns. This is the man who didn't lose 100 games in a row, and now, only on Game 2 in the World Championship, Ding was trailing behind.
I cannot understand what was happening. I missed nearly everything in the game.
To make matters worse, while there was a Russian translator for Jan,
Journalist who wants to give the question in Russian, we can translate that.
FIDE had not fought to get a Chinese translator for Ding. And so Ding had to struggle through English to answer a myriad of questions ranging from his mental health to what it was like to lose his first World Championship game. It was clear from the start Ding needed a support system. Ding's mother flies up from China, along with Chijun, the same fiery 21-year-old who took down the Soviet Union to become China's first women's world champion in 1991. It turns out there was someone who knew exactly what it was like to be in Ding's position, who felt the weight of China's overbearing grasp on its athletes. As early as Game 5, Chejun was down in her World Championship match against Maya. She knows how devastating the feeling is, but she also knows how paradoxically freeing it can be too. After Game 2, she sits down with Ding. This loss on Game 2 is exactly what you need. What you have feared most, losing in the World Championship match, has happened. The shackles have fallen.
You looked more confident today, and you stayed at the board a lot more.
Yeah, I would like to thanks to my friends. Now I feel more comfortable at this stage.
After Game 2, nobody was expecting Ding to have the confidence to play another crazy opening. But when you have Report on your team, anything's possible. The Mad Genius fingerprints were all over this position. Soon, Ding veers off and makes the position his own. When Jan boldly advances his knight to a nice outpost on Ding's side of the board, Ding decides to play not for material advantage, but rather material disadvantage. He takes away the defended knight by sacrificing his own rook. At first, Ding seemed to be cracking under pressure, but his demeanor inspired something different entirely: confidence. It turns out this sacrifice was one of the most brilliant moves in the entire game. Jan is now up a rook, but at what cost, as his own rook is going to be trapped defending against a passed pawn of Ding's. Slowly but surely, Ding was able to march this pawn dangerously into the field of battle, until it had just one more step to coronate. Jan tried his best to defend, but in the end it was futile. On move 47, all roads lead either to Ding promoting his pawn, or taking Jan's own queen outright with a tricky pin on the king. Jan resigns, and Ding wins his first game of a World Championship ever.
Yeah, it's a very hard game, and I managed to keep things under control. So I'm very happy.
As the match equalized, the atmosphere extremified. Heavy snow greeted the players as they trudged towards Game 5. Jan keeps warm by ruthlessly attacking, only spending a couple of seconds on every opening move while Ding takes a couple minutes to counter each one. Eventually, Jan gets his bishop into a nice outpost, playing over 20 moves in less than 5 minutes. Ding has spent over 45 of his 2 hours, and time slowly but surely becomes an issue. Jan opens up his queen and Ding counters with his own queen, but Jan surgically is able to remove it to the outer edges of the board, while putting his own queen on a monstrous, almost cancerous square as it attacks Ding's entire army all at once. Ding now has only 20 minutes to figure out how to get rid of this raging Lady Macbeth out of the center.
Doesn't look that lost to me at first, but now that I noticed the threat of g5.
While Ding focuses on the queen, Jan marches his kingside pawns up the board, even borderline taunting Ding by lining all 3 of them up in a row. It doesn't matter that they're left undefended, the infiltration is coming. Ding looks over his castle's walls and realizes there's only blind hope at this point.
Well, it's no longer the moment of truth. I mean, whatever Ding plays, it's all over. The bar is completely...
The kingside pawns desperately needed to be dealt with sooner. He spends a few moves fruitlessly retaliating against Jan's wooden soldier's siege, but knows deep down it's too late. On move 48, after 4 hours of grueling battle, Ding resigns.
It was a masterpiece, to be honest.
So, yeah, it's a very good game played by him.
After the press conference, a video of Ding walking out with his mother goes viral. While Ding's mood is no doubt dampened after the loss, his mother's is as solid as steel. She doesn't care that her son just lost the game in the all-too-important World Championship match. To her, she's just happy that she gets to watch her son play and cheer him on in the next game. With the pressure coming from virtually all directions, spectators know one direction it's not. Ding is not alone. He has his mother, who, no matter win or loss, is going to be proud of her son regardless. In such a high-profile match, recent history shows us that players usually stick to what they know. In 2016, when Sergei challenged Magnus for the crown, He opened with the Roy Lopez all but one time with white. In 2018, when Fabiano Caruana challenged Magnus, he opened with the Sicilian every single time with white. In 2021, when Jan played Magnus, he opened with the Roy Lopez the first 4 times he had white. It's just a safe strategy to stick with what you know. But then there's Ding Liren. To recap, the first time Ding had white, he played an opening that had never been seen before in elite level chess, and therefore doesn't even have a name. The second time he played in English, refusing the popular central opening moves of d4 and e4, and now, to start off game 6, his third game of white, he plays a London, which has never been seen before in a World Championship chess match.
Oh no, oh no, oh no, the London.
Ding invites the unknown, and it's what makes this one of the most exciting World Championships in history. Ding looks better off in the opening, and then pushes his advantage well into the middle game. Jan retorts and gets a passed pawn for his troubles. It reaches a position where Ding needs to be careful, and he spends 20 minutes deep in thought, and then he plays the unassuming pawn to d5.
Likewise, and okay, d5 played by Ding?
At first glance, the live supercomputers give this move a question mark, which in chess notation is a move which makes one's position worse. But after more calculation, the computer decides to mysteriously retort this decision. What was going on? Why did Ding spend almost half an hour calculating this seemingly random pawn move? And why was the supercomputer, known for its brute processing power, faltering to analyze it correctly? Jan, equally as confused by this pawn move, ignores it and pushes his own passed pawn to the second rank, threatening coronation in the near future.
No, a2, a2, of course he goes a2.
It's complicated, Anish.
It is a little bit complicated, but...
I do feel Ding maybe could have found a cleaner way to do this. This feels messy now, at least with the black pawn on a2.
The computer lights up. Ding is 100% winning this game. Anish Giri, a top 10 player in the entire world, with a peak live rating surpassing 2800, is incapable of seeing why though. But can you blame him?
What is this pawn doing? On d5, what has it changed?
What? Yeah, wait. What's going on here?
So confusing.
Some checkmate. He sees it. He sees it. You know. This is the remarkable part. He sees it.
I think so. He looks like he's very excited.
Yeah. He's excited. He sees probably something pretty even.
At this point, Ding's hand is shaking as he slivers his queen to Jan's side of the board.
Look, he sees it. You see, he's going for it. What is it that he's going for? What is the finisher after king h7, knight g6, rook g8? What is the finishing touch?
He is a genius, Ding, so he's gonna show us something clever.
He is, and it's his moment to shine. You see it?
Wait, he's closed a mating net, Anish. The king, oh wow, okay, we have to show this. I think he wants to sacrifice his queen, and d5 does contribute here, so, okay, there's a discovered check. We were assuming king h7, let's bring up the analysis board while Jan returns, and now knight g6, we were saying rook g8, but Anish, queen f7, and I'm gonna take this and checkmate you.
Oh!
Look at this.
See, I'm not. This is not my strength. Checkmates. I'm gonna start. I'm bad at checkmates. Oh, this is beautiful.
Wow. And
so
this
weird.
is why the d5 push contributes. You cover the e6 square, cover the escape square. He saw this. What was it? 5-6 moves in advance.
Ding had calculated one of the most brilliant and complex queen sacrifices in the game's history, and the fact that Ding was able to see it multiple moves in advance and move the d-pawn accordingly before the computer could even consider it a worthy move was poetic.
What a moment this is about to be. We're about to see one of the most beautiful finishes to a World Championship game. I think in history, Anish.
But it's every day. I mean, the guys, they're just like the final positions are so beautiful every time. It's just incredible. It's disturbing how beautiful the stuff is.
Just for a sliver of a glimpse, human creativity and ingenuity triumphed over cold and undefeated electrical calculation. It was a move Louis, the player of the immortal game of 1978, would be proud of. Just as his unforgettable game had equalized his team's score in the Olympiad, Ding had just equalized his own in the World Championship. Going into the halfway point, Ding was still in this.
Why do you think there are more decisive games in this match than World Championship matches in the past?
What about you, Ding?
I guess the reason is maybe we are not that professional than Magnus.
You're very honest. We appreciate that.
Started, and Jan goes with 1e4.
Okay, Ding's turn. Will we see a surprise from Ding? I don't think so.
We might, but I don't think it will be on the move for one.
Approach right before the start, and he goes with the French.
Wow.
Oh.
Unbelievable.
That is huge.
By move 1, Ding surprises everyone yet again. By not moving his e-pawn up 2 squares to match Jan's, and instead choosing only one, Ding invites the French opening, one that's never played by top-level computers because it's considered to be too slow. But while it's rejected by the computer level, sometimes at the human level, it's just right to catch your opponent off guard. Soon, both players have only 15 minutes to go with 12 more moves to make before extra time is allotted. While Ding takes over the center with many attacking ideas available to him, Jan on the other hand doesn't have a single attacking initiative. Rook takes h7 is a paper tiger that will leave white worse.
He won. In fact, I mean, if white's not careful, white could lose this in like 3 moves.
All Ding has to do is calculate the right attack and the game is most likely his. 10 moves, 10 minutes. Ding nervously spends half of that time on his next move.
It's all pretty slow, and I have to say, Ding taking more and more time. His position is extremely easy to play. You know, you have a lot of safe moves.
But it's on the board.
Wow,
it's done. It's on the board. H4, he goes for it.
Leaving him with 5 minutes to make 9 moves. At this point, Ding really ought to be playing quickly, but in contrast, he's not moving at all.
But bishop e5.
Less than 5 minutes. He needs to make a choice.
Yeah, he has to make a choice because
9 moves, 4 minutes.
This can't be emphasized enough. Suddenly, Nepo's up 7 minutes. He doesn't have a lot of time.
As every second ticks away, the pressure on Ding builds.
It's for the G file to open up. Now 3.5 minutes on the clock.
Jesus.
9 moves, 3 minutes.
If the match is getting to him, he's unable to make a move at this point. It's psychological. He's just frozen.
9 moves. He's got 9 moves in less than 2.5 minutes now. This is an average of like 10.
Anish leaves the commentary team. As a top player himself, he knows what's likely going on.
Yeah, we're not even anywhere close to Astana, but I can't handle the pressure as Anish has left the chat and the screen. He can't take it. Ding needs to, he's frozen. He's literally frozen right now.
9 moves, 2 minutes.
Bullet out the moves. He has to be careful so that he actually is able to even make the moves physically.
He's frozen, guys. It's a tension thing.
Less than 2 minutes.
He spent 20 minutes last game finding the unforgettable d5 checkmate, and he's crunching his brain in overtime to find the winning move again.
There's no increment. A minute 40. He's not even close to moving. A minute 30.
No increment.
He broke.
9 moves, 1 single minute.
He's under a minute.
Why is he? What is he doing?
He's under a minute.
What
He's
is he
thinking.
doing?
There's no increment.
Just collapsed.
No
he just
way.
Collapsed. Just
He's got
collapsed.
50 seconds on the clock.
He's gonna
and he's finally gonna move.
Oh my! No, he didn't make it. He didn't. He reached out, Daniel, and finally we got a move.
Seconds.
He goes rook d2.
With only 45 seconds left on his clock, Ding finally makes a move, and it's not a good one. When Jan eventually retaliates, Ding is forced to take 2 seconds to make his next move, and it's even worse.
Ding is gonna play instantly here, and Ding is blundering. Rook to d3 back.
Of course.
Chess enthusiasts all around the world were pulling their hair out. They just witnessed something rarely seen in chess, a complete and utter mental collapse. Ding plays his 35th move in a single second, but it's all over at this point. Jan took advantage of 2 back-to-back dubious moves to find a winning push. In chess, that's all it takes. Ding had the game in the palm of his hands, but suddenly it flew away just like that.
This looks like game over.
6 seconds.
And
But that's it.
makes
This
a
is
move.
insane. I mean, King G7, all he had to do was keep the tension for a couple more moves. He handled the most difficult part of the game so well, and then froze when hard work was over.
Can you give us an idea what happened at that moment?
Yeah, in the previous move, when he played rook c4, suddenly I realized maybe I was slightly worse after that. Then I cannot go rook d3, he can take on c5, and then he had rook c8 check. So I just couldn't find the right continuation during the game.
By the halfway point of game 8, it's clear Ding is winning. Jan should counter here by keeping his queen as a solid defensive piece, but instead he mind-bendingly saunters it into Ding's territory, leaving his rook completely undefended.
Jan is... Oh, does he sacrifice the rook?
Looks like it.
Jan wasn't playing chess with this move, he was playing poker. In chess, if the same position is reached 3 times, the game instantly becomes drawn. If Ding takes his defenseless rook, Jan is threatening to move his queen in such a way that threefold repetition will forcibly occur with repeated back-to-back checks. But what if I told you Jan is bluffing? You see, Ding's best move here is to actually take the rook, because Jan's queen, as scary as it looks, can't actually achieve anything. It's mind-meltingly hard to see, but Ding can actually sacrifice his own rook to stop freefold repetition and escape with a second queen and 0 scratches. Jan knows this, but this bluff is excruciatingly his best chance of survival, so he goes for it. Down to less than half an hour on his clock, Ding decides to take around 2 minutes to calculate the threat of perpetual check, and then he simply gives up calculating anymore. Instead of keeping on the pressure, Ding defends against Jan's harmless queen.
But it's so easy to buy into it, by the way. It is so easy to buy into that.
Take this pawn on g5, but he's back in the game.
Jan, by playing poker instead of chess, survives by the skin of his teeth.
And there's a draw agreed, fair result, but whew, what a match we have.
Obviously, you were considered to take the rook on d8, but then in the end you decided not to. Can you please tell us what was the reason why you decided so?
Ding no doubt knew this would be the very first question of the press conference, but afterwards he gets one he couldn't fathom.
Mike Klein with Chess.com. My question is for Grandmaster Ding Liren. Some people online have found games played on Lichess that match very closely with some games played here. What is your reaction to this rumor?
I don't know which game you refer.
Commentary Insights, previous games have always been compared to Masters databases. It's how we know Ding used Report's 2013 opening in Game 4. Game 8 showed no match, but one spectator went further and checked more obscure databases, like Two Strangers Just Playing a Friendly Game of Chess Online database. Turns out LeChess.com's base had a game that matched the first several moves of Game 8. Surprisingly, the game was played by 2 beginner accounts, and further investigation led to the discovery that both these accounts were made on the exact same day and that they had only ever played each other. Looking through their games, the never-before-seen H3 opening, played by Ding in Game 2, was even there. It turns out it was played before, you just needed to know where to look. While Game 8 was being played live, all of this was coming into light for the first time. Just when it looked like it couldn't get worse for Ding, Ding and Report's preparation accounts get leaked. Hundreds of online games the duo played in preparation for this specific match were now publicly available for the world to see. Jan and his team now had an unprecedented advantage. All of the tricks that Ding had prepared and believed in were out in the open, ready to be counter-analyzed. The shock factor was gone. Jan was going to learn of everything going forward. With Ding down a full point, there are only 3 more games for Ding to bring it back. In Game 12, Ding feels the pressure and takes brutal risks. The result, however, leaves Jan in a completely winning position. Ding realized he was faltering on a bold and dangerous tightrope he himself manufactured. It was too late to backtrack and find balance in delicate defense.
Buy that pawn on e6. Robert, what do you make of these changes?
I make that it's a brilliant move.
Ding catches a lucky break when Jan spends less than a minute on the questionable move rook to g8 in favor of the practically game-winning fork.
Robert, with this decision by Jan?
Extremely surprised. I just don't know why he did this so quickly. And you see the X, usually it marks the spot, but here it marks the big mistake here.
Jan wasn't nervous, simply relaxed, going for what he believed to be a forced line.
But Jan plays rook g8. Wait a minute, Ding. Okay, not the most accurate of moves. Not the most accurate. Ding still goes queen c6, hits the bishop, and this. And now Jan has only one move here. Jan has only one move. He has to play knight f5. Because pawn takes f5 is not possible. Black will sacrifice.
This should have been played first, but he plays bishop b8, does Jan deposit, and oh my goodness!
Whoa!
The evaluation went all the way up in Ding Liren's favor.
Whoa. Ding is winning. Ding is winning. Bishop takes g6 is winning. He just has to take the rook.
Because queen b7 was Ding's choice. He also doesn't find the best move.
He doesn't see it. And Jan is winning again with the move knight to f5. Knight to f5 again winning. But Jan plays rook h6, and now it's back to equality.
This is pure nerves. That no longer is this about chess. It's just pure nerves at this point.
Oh my goodness, both sides missing absolute haymakers to put the other away.
Not only caution has been thrown out a window in this game, but also the accuracy as we see the bar go up and down.
So Ding now plays bishop e4, centralizing, controlling. Rook h5 is an idea, but it's a little bit too fast now. Black can play f3 here, but Jan plays rook f8.
That his move has been awarded by a question mark. That's not the kind of award you want in this position.
Rook F8 has a very clear intention, all right? He's trying to set this up, but he gives away his B pawn and his rook is now hanging. And now he's bringing his queen back. Wait a minute, this game is spinning a little bit out of control here.
That these aren't chess mistakes. This is not about chess anymore. This is just about psychology and keeping it together under really strong pressure of a world championship match.
What is happening? Queen C3, realigning the threat on the king on H8. Okay, knight G6. Now bishop G2, protecting the king. Still equal, all right? Now the queen comes back to H4. Oh my god, this is so tense.
Now we're at a completely enigmatic and messy position, where nobody knows what's going on. It's two boxers in the ring on round 12. Both are exhausted and worn out, and trying everything in their power to land one last finishing blow.
And in this position, game 12, world championship match, leading 6-5, Jan Nepomniachtchi plays the move F5. And the evaluation pogo sticks to the stars.
Plays F5?
F5.
It's losing the spot.
After rook E6, it's over. It's over.
And this is why Ding Liren played rook e2. That was a really subtle idea. It was just defending, of course, a pawn that was under attack, but he made it so Jan could not successfully play this active move f5. So I think that Ding Liren deserves a ton of credit. Jan's created problems for himself as well, and now the game's just over. There's no way to save this king.
Unbelievably, in the third to last game, Ding stands tall and equalizes the match for the third time. Two more games to go. Advantage oscillates back and forth between the two men in game 13, but ultimately it meets in the middle for a draw. In World Championship chess history, scores have been equal with just one more game remaining 8 times. Of those 8 times, only 2 ended decisively, highlighting how players prefer to play conservatively during the final game, inviting more decisive tiebreak play later on. None of that happened here today, however. Ding attacked early on and it cost him big.
Playing for a win, ending with losing the title at the last game of the World Chess Championship match.
Entering the endgame, Jan was winning.
Oh wow, it's kind of sad, and Jan again is like, whoa. He's like, what a gift. I mean, do you see his expression?
The only way Ding could stay in this now was by playing precise move after precise move to delicately force a draw. After many nail-biting, inducing moves later, Ding had just enough to fend off Jan. After 90 moves, 6 hours and 32 minutes, both men agreed to draw. And just like that, one of the most exciting World Championship matches is somehow going to rapid tiebreaks. After the press conference, Ding's head is swirling. He can't think properly. A bold charge almost cost him the entire tournament. And when the time gets subsequently stripped away tomorrow, it's not like he can make more patient and calculated moves. Report signals Ding to get out of the elevator to avoid an awkward ride with Jan and his team. Report has been Ding's chess ally up to this point, but it's obvious now Ding needs something more, a friend. When the press subsequently bombards an out-of-it Ding, Report literally shields him. In mere hours, both men will be back to finally decide a world champion. It's at this point Ding picks up a letter sent to him by his great friend Wei Yi, the child prodigy reserve player on the team that won China's first ever Olympiad gold in 2014. Wei Yi has blossomed into a promising player himself, becoming the youngest ever Super Grandmaster, and the three-time Chinese national champion just like Ding himself.
And that's the clincher! That's the clincher!
The two have become great friends and have always helped each other out in their own tournament play. Today is no exception. Ding reads Wei Yi's letter. In the quiet April, an old friend embarks on a 1,000-mile journey. The bird that was once caged is out flying. The pond-bound fish has joined the river's course. Though the hometown is far behind, why worry when we are in spirit together? Human affairs are full of misses and disappointments, each day bringing more concerns. But then, between black and white squares, purity and strategy intertwine. Hasten towards the rival's line. Strive with might, no turning back. Awaiting your triumphant return, friend. Ding sits down and cries. It's been an emotional roller coaster to get here, and it all ends tomorrow, when 4 rapid back-to-back tiebreak games will decide everything. Chess is considered the ultimate game of pure logical calculation. If it were a city, it would be a utopia. A sea, waveless. A sunset, forgetful. But logic doesn't find itself alone in this ancient game. We are only human. Even at the highest level, chess is not just a game of frigid logic, but a game of the soul, nerves, and sometimes, very rarely, unmatched fighting passion that rips open the very seams of logic itself. A world champion will be decided today. Ding has only beaten Yan with the white pieces so far, but unfortunately for him, it's Yan who will play the final game of white. A queen, a rook, a bishop, and 4 pawns each. The computer awards no advantage to either player. It's dead even. The only discrepancy is time.
He goes for bishop c3. Is Ding playing with fire? I see the eval bar still approves of it, rook c1, but now he has to be super careful with just 2.5 minutes on the clock.
Ding gets pressured into lining his pieces up, something he would have rather avoided. Yan slides his rook over and takes advantage of this painful pin. Ding has mere minutes to escape, and yet under this excruciating pressure, he manages to find the best move in the position.
Oh, but queen e2, you actually do. He probably didn't see that one.
It's a brilliant move, and actually, that means it's the only move that allowed black to survive this game. I wasn't looking in that direction.
Like a bashful Houdini, Ding moves the position back to equal. Neither player has an initiative, so now Yan checks Ding's king with his queen.
Making the draw, so now he does it. I think it would have been very dangerous, Tanya, if he had not decided on queen e4.
It was time. It was time.
Ding moves it out of the way, so Yan checks it again. Ding responds by moving his king back. This is going to be a perpetual check. Threefold repetition.
And guys, we're gonna see a draw here. This will be a perpetual. You've got blitz coming up. That's what's gonna happen.
In 1986, China made a simple yet ambitious 4-step plan to grow the game of chess, knowing that the 4th would be the hardest and perhaps most unattainable. Win the Open World Championship. It's been over 40 years, and finally, one unassuming, kind, and humble soul has taken an entire country the closest it's ever been to chess fruition. The road was not paved. It was full of enough potholes, twists, and incongruencies to make even the most determined of players step back. Even though Ding was the second highest rated player in the world behind Magnus, he could not contend for the world crown because of strict lockdown regulations out of his control. But then, out of nowhere, Karyakin is disqualified for supporting the Russian invasion. The highest active rated player will be the replacement, but Ding hasn't played enough games to be considered, so he joins a series of tournaments that allow him to play 26 rated games in the span of a month. He went undefeated to maintain his high rating, and in the nick of time, he is awarded Karyakin's spot. At the candidates, Ding got off to a horrible start, losing his first game to Yan before going on a 7-game draw streak. Ding is considered out of contention at this point, but out of nowhere he goes on a free game win streak. It's not enough to fight for the gold ticket spot, but for the first time in history, second place in the candidates might actually mean something. At this point, Ding and Hikaru are the only players who can get second, and as if written by destiny itself, Ding and Hikaru face off against one another in the final round. Ding has to win to get the possible second championship match spot, and he does. Magnus proceeds to step down from the title afterwards, and Ding earns a spot with Yan to contend for the world champion title. He gets off to a rocky start, losing game 2, but he bounces back in game 4. He loses again in game 5, but bounces back again in game 6. He is winning game 7, but completely freezes up and loses the game to time. To make matters worse, his preparation is leaked on the very next game. But Ding yet again proves the mantra "it's not over till it's over" by winning a nail-biting game 12. Ding's road up to this point has been anything but conventional, so when everyone in the world tells him not to pin his rook and instead take the safe draw ensuring move, well, little did anyone know that the biggest twist was yet to come. It wasn't due to any external factors. This final turn came deep from within Ding himself.
Move that I feel with black keeps the game going, but it looks like more like a losing move than a winning attempt.
I mean, okay, you're not going to play rook g6 here, right?
I don't think he's gonna gamble.
If rook g6 is not better for it, I'd be shocked. But it's not definitely. Oh my god.
Oh!
What?
The chess world couldn't believe it. With only 90 seconds left on his clock, Ding self-paralyzes his rook, loses advantage, and forces the game to keep going. Many world champions have their own phrase for it. Wilhelm Steinitz called it artistic horror. Lasker called it vaudeville. Alekhine the fantastic. But I believe Tal said it best when he called it a deep dark forest where 2 + 2 = 5. Ding took Jan into the depths of chess itself. It's a place where few have trodden, where theory and calculation are scrambled, concrete laws broken up. This place is rarely seen in chess anymore. Nobody in their right mind expected Ding to play the destructive rook to g6, pinning his own piece and virtually taking it out of the game. He only had a minute and a half left to play. The free-fold repetition draw was right there. One more sound move and he could start fresh tomorrow and find his winning chances elsewhere. The board was black and white and a draw. But there's a reason Ding is in this chair and no one else is. When it matters most, when the time pressure breaks you down to your very core, when you're playing the most significant game in your entire existence, Ding, with rook to g6, sets off a dark earthly mix of raging roots and scintillating chaos. With one daring step, he trods where no other player dares to go, a deep dark forest where 2 + 2 = 5, and the path out is only narrow enough for one. The board is no longer black and white, it never was, and the outcome of the most important game lurks somewhere in the gray misty matter of untold future.
Well, once again, I must say, I don't like this as a concept.
On the board, white's got to go h4, h5, right? That's the plan. Black stops it with h5.
Yeah, this is a pretty wild decision. Maybe c3 is happening.
That move, rook g6. Avi, we were thinking that's not even a possibility.
It actually looks like a brilliant decision, but
I'm in absolute shock that Ding actually
I like
decided
this
to continue
because
the
if queen
game
c4,
with
there's
just
rook
a minute on the
c6 now. The
clock.
queen and rook along the 6th rank helps to push
Black
the
is
pawn.
just pushing. Well, like, what does the h5 matter? Because you don't
Trying
get
to make
checked.
a
You just
draw,
try to
right?
like hold it move by move. Yeah, queen e4, queen c4, and it's not an immediate draw, but you're saying black cannot easily progress.
So Jan may be fighting back in this game just when it looked like Ding Liren will be crowned world champion. Look at the eval bar. It's going near level. This could be dangerous for Ding. If he's all in for the win, he could find himself under pressure. He could find himself under pressure.
At the press conferences, very often you mentioned about your friends.
Well, my friend said to think the things from the positive side.
Yeah, it's quite a tough tournament for me. Yeah, I would like to thanks to my friends.
But I must admit, well, sometimes it becomes so obvious to me that this man is brilliant. And the chess talent to actually try rook g6 followed by, you know, c4 and queen d3.
And Jan is the one down to 20 seconds and counting down. The resilience from Ding Liren. He brings his queen up. Now it's on f5. There's a pass pawn c2 that's defended. You can't distract the queen anymore. Ding Liren, who is down a point in this match, is he about to become our world champion?
Such a brave decision, and it's paying off.
Black can do anything here.
Is Grace under pressure? He's courageous, and queen f5
Now
gives
A2,
black the upper hand, apparently.
A2 is super winning.
And Jan Nepomniachtchi, he sits up in his chair, but he knows this might be the last few moves of his world championship.
Oh my god. It's over! Ding Liren is the world chess champion!
For over 1500 years, chess has graciously offered us glimpses of the human condition. In perhaps its most meaningful glimpse yet, Ding's decades-long improbable journey reaches its highest peak yet.
It's quite a tough tournament for me. Yeah, I would like to thanks to my friends.
I'm very happy to win the match. It was very tough and difficult also. Yeah. I would like to thank to the FIGHT, to Kazakhstan Chess Association, also the sponsor, the company, and also I want to thanks to Ian, my opponent Ian. You are a great fighter. You will fight until the very end. Thank you, and hope everybody had a good evening. Thank you.
Thank you so much. We're very grateful for your impressive speech, and again, our congratulations. We wish you all the best and more victories in the future.
All of us want to know what was the thoughts in your head at that moment. What was your feeling?
But things went differently, the other direction. You know, the life is so strange. There are two different ways, and in the end